Welcome to Drop Pod, episode 17. Thank you so much for tuning in. Got a lot to talk about this episode, right? It's been a while. You guys might be wondering, where did I go? What did I do? What happened? We'll get to that. Also, talk about the latest releases happening. There's one release in particular that's really irked me, really bothered me, which I'll discuss in greater detail later on in the episode. You might have heard of this game. Made by a little, huge AAA corporation known as Sony. Or rather published. The game is called Concord, and over its free beta weekend, free being free, meaning anybody could have tried this game, that did not do too well. I'll just throw that out there right now. I'll tell you that for free. More on that later on. So I took a wee bit of a hiatus, if you've noticed on the channel, and if you follow the channel beyond Drop Pod, because of course you do, you'll notice that I haven't really released anything substantial other than my very spoiler-heavy knife fight against the final boss of the Elden Ring DLC. If you have not beaten the Elden Ring DLC or haven't gotten around to that fight yet, I'd recommend not watching that particular video, but I felt like I needed to push that out as the DLC was still hot off the presses, basically. But yeah, I took a hiatus last year. I was in a pretty committed relationship, and then that relationship kind of just stopped. Not going to get into it, but things ended amiably enough, and I felt during that year I had to devote so much of my time and attention to upholding that part of the relationship, and I really couldn't be bothered with the whole content creation as not even a hobby that I'm doing, but let alone a job. So I took a break and devoted my time to my girlfriend at the time. I'm back now though, and during that period, there was a lot of retrospection on my end on just basically my work ethic and what I want to be doing. And I'm sure everybody has that thought in their head as they're about to drift off into sleep, and you guys wonder, what should I be doing right now currently? Am I doing everything that I need to be doing? Am I fulfilling the day? And fulfilling the day meaning, have you succeeded in what you wanted to do for that day? A lot of people don't really have plans for their days, which I think is a shame. I think you guys should, not you guys in particular, but I think those people should be more cognizant of what they want to be doing for the day. Write down just small tidbits, achievable things that you want to be doing for the day. And I've been keeping up to that schedule since January of this year. And it's small things that are definitely achievable for me, like reasonable things that I'm meant to be doing throughout that day. Even if it's, something benign as, walk the dog or write in general is such a amorphous thing. But for me, that's like, okay, no, I should write something today. I should read something today. Guarantee that I read for at least 30 minutes. Guarantee that I work out for 30 minutes. Guarantee that I walk for, 30 minutes, 60 minutes, whatever I'm doing that day. And it's just stuff like that. And I wish more people would kind of do that. I feel like you're honest with yourself when you're writing, and when you're able to plan out your day and structure everything that you need to be doing throughout the day. That kind of just helps. But enough about that. The hiatus kind of took its toll on me because, when I was just in this relationship, it didn't, truth be told, I didn't want to be in the relationship. That's a that's a whole can of worms for another time. But it took its toll on, like, oh man, do I really feel like doing any of this right now? And it was really bothering me on just like doing my day-to-day hobbies. There were days I didn't feel like gaming. My one big hobby. It's like I don't feel like talking about any games media. I don't feel like playing anything having to do with the video game. I don't feel like reading. And it was just that. And as soon as I broke up with my now ex last year, things slowly started to come back to me. I started playing a little bit more. I got back into my whole reading thing. It felt like all of my time was being devoted to this, this singular person that I was trying to help out. And now that is no longer the case. So, as of the past few months, I'd say, past few being 2, I've been slowly coming back into the whole content creation thing. I've been finding my niche as far as my editing practices and going back over my old videos, over my old content, and going, man, that dude was cringe. It's going to be even more cringe now, I assure you. Now that first 6 minutes of preamble was cringe. But you know how it is. So, yeah, just a lot of stuff happened in 2023. It was a combination of the girlfriend, and then it was a combination of the games I was playing back then didn't feel like they were going anywhere. I don't know if that makes any sense to people that don't really do content creation, but last year I was covering Warhammer 40k Darktide, and Darktide had released with some abysmally poor decision making. I mean, yeah, things like community managers, not saying the right oh god, community managers not saying the right things at the right time. You had the very poorly received microtransaction store that drip fed content to you week by week, and they still do this to this day. It's just that people accept this now as that's just the way it is. I feel like we've been doing a lot of that lately in the gaming community. Well, that's just the way it is. And I don't think it's going to change anytime soon. I think there's maybe, who knows? There's been a lot of pushback lately in the gaming community. I mean, we're seeing so many games kind of fall by the wayside. I mean, Concord is going to be the next of them. And I don't say this as like, oh, I would love for this game to fail. I'd rather not see any game fail. I mean, this year that we're living in is one of the hardest on my generation for sure. People only have so much money to dedicate to any service that they're using, let alone a live service video game sort of deal. So when you see something like this fail, it's like, well, it's because of the game? Is it because it could it be something as simple as, well, you just developed this game too late, or no, this game is just really bad, or is this just not the game? People have to ask themselves these questions of, is it worth my, $30 USD, $60 to invest in this game? you don't know how long it's going to last. I feel so bad for people that really like buy into live services, because it's like, well, you're banking that this game is going to be around for a long, long time. And when it's a game like, God, it was one of my talking points before I came on here, but I haven't the foggiest of what it's called. It was a extraction shooter. Let's see here. Yes, okay. Hyenas. Hyenas, you guys have probably not even heard of hyenas. People were saying, oh, this is going to be that new wave. It's going to be that new. This game didn't last through its through its alpha and beta periods. This game did not last. Hyenas was a extraction shooter published and made by Sony. Sega. Sega put so much stock into this game, and it played well. But it's just, the market is so oversaturated, and it's like, what business do I have playing this game, even if it's free, when I already have games like Tarkov, I'm already playing Apex. You know, I have games that can fill this niche for me. I don't really need an extraction shooter. I got Battle Royales to play. I already got, you know, these games that I'm heavily invested in. What do I need hyenas for? And that was basically one of the big arguments for the game. And it's sad because you can see, especially when the devs go on Twitter to, you know, kind of talk about, you know, their games and everything that's happening within this scene. And you can see, like, you know, they're very passionate about the things that they're creating. Obviously, you should be when you're in a medium like that. It's crazy when, you know, you're seeing the meltdowns on Twitter from the devs, and, you know, they're kind of blaming the faculties of the game being shut down on the community or some exterior factor, rather than just like, hey, this game, it just wasn't this game's time. This game released when it shouldn't have. And if it was going to release, it should have been a lot sooner. That's why I worry about certain games. Like, I worry about Marathon. This is Bungie's next big foray. And it's like gamers are starting to really push back on just the whole live service trend in general. There's way too many. There's way too many. I'm sure in your head right now, you have at least 10 that you've thought of just off the bat, right? You already have the big one that Bungie already has. You know, Destiny, you got Warframe, you got Path of Exile, you got Team Fortress 2, you got Dota 2, you got Counter-Strike, you got... Sorry, I hesitated there. I don't know if For Honor is it's a live service for sure, but it's not like free to play or anything. Screw it, For Honor. Though it's not a big sell. Lost Ark, New World. World of Warcraft has always been the big one. Diablo 4. Diablo 4 kind of dropped a lot of its goodwill over the course of nerfs. Just general head-scratching gameplay updates and balancing decisions that just don't really make any sense for the overall progression of the game. You know, when you run a live service, your service is being propped up by the continued supports of the player base. So when you start clapping back at the player base, it's just like, all right, well, what good is it for me to keep playing this, you know? Brought up Concord earlier. And Concord, let's see here. So I have my numbers correct here, because I'm pretty sure it was less than 2,000 players at the time. Yeah, Okay, so as of this recording, the all-time peak for this game was 2,388 players. That is not good for a beta period. As of recording, it has been noted that people aren't even wishlisting this game. And I think one of the big things about Concord is that one, it's not free. And it's down to one of those things where it's like, I don't need to play this when Overwatch exists. Something else that's kind of interesting about Concord in terms of just it being in beta, and I, you know, some of you guys might try to clap back at like, well, 2,300. I mean, it's a beta. Marvel Rivals, a game similar to Concord, a game similar more so to Overwatch, was also in its beta. If I go here, as of, let's see here. Unfortunately, it's not pulling up right here. Hold on. Yeah, the play test. Well, yeah, okay. Even as we speak currently, the game currently has 33K players. It's in its beta. This playtest is going to go away at the end of the week. I'm pretty sure. All-time peak of 52K players. Concord had barely reached 2,000 at the end of its beta weekend. So I'm kind of worried about Concord's longevity, because when I saw the trailer for it, I thought, it seems like an interesting take on like an arena shooter that adds hero shooter aspects to it. And I've never played a game like that. I barely got into Overwatch. Like I've never been a huge Overwatch guy. I've never been a huge like Team Fortress guy either. I've had my stint in like 2012, but it was never like, oh yeah, no, this is the game that I need to be playing forever. A lot of people were coming back with, this game is just way too generic. And when I was watching the gameplay, I mean, yeah, even with the hero shooter aspects of it, at the end of the day, it's just an arena shooter. It has the basic domination game mode, the basic search and destroy game mode. It has the basic team deathmatch game mode. Like, this game isn't doing anything that you already can't get from games that do exist currently. The only thing that people have been saying as a positive for this game is that it's not the worst game people have played. And that's like kind of the weird thing. It's like, it ain't good, but it's far from the worst. It's just there, right? It's gonna be lauded as this is the most video game I have ever played. Receptions to this game have been lukewarm so far, and you know, well, again, it just goes back to, what do I need Concord for? It's not free. I don't need to play this game when Marvel Rivals is going to be free. Overwatch is there already. Games that are free. I have no problem going back to those games. I have every bit of problem going to Concord. 40 euros. Or, no, sorry, what? I believe it will be. I believe it will be 40 euros. Is that correct? No, it would be 55. $60 USD to euro. Yeah. Clap back at me in the comments if that's correct. I don't know. That's Concord in a nutshell. And that's live service in a nutshell. Something that I heard that I absolutely agree with in terms of Concord is if this game released a lot sooner, I'm sure this would have been the talk of town. I do agree with that. You look at this game, you look at the very aged arena shooter gameplay style of old, you would go, man, if this had released maybe like 2015, 2016, this would have been like the game. It's just not that climate anymore. And as we become more saturated with live service, I hope developers will start pushing back on the whole, like, everything needs to be a live service sort of deal in order to be successful. Not that I personally hate this medium of live service or games as a service, but it's again, this year, 2024, it's very taxing on a lot of people right now. So selling me a game that you want me to, pay a pocket premium for, and then you want me to continue to pay an excess for, in terms of cosmetics, in terms of, battle passes, or whatever your game's seasonal model is. It's just not feasible. It definitely isn't feasible. I mean, of games that I've supported last year alone, you had Helldivers. No, you didn't. No, sorry. Excuse me. It's Helldivers. No, that released at the start of this year. Excuse me. What I meant to say was games like Destiny 2. I had Darkside. I had Warframe. I had Path of Exile and its leagues. I had Diablo 4. I had one more that I'm blanking on. It might have been Modded Warfare 2. Yeah, Modern Warfare 2. And those particular games already, aside from Path of Exile, you can kind of take it or leave it. It's not, they're not asking for anything of you. I mean, neither is Warframe, but in terms of, like, if you're getting the full package, if you pay for something, right? Like Destiny 2, you're arguably playing a worse game without the season pass. The same can be said for Modern Warfare 2, because you're not really earning anything beyond the initial ranks that are in the game. So once you pass those ranks, it's like, well, I kind of don't have any chase for this game unless I get the battle pass, in which case, okay, now I'm grinding towards something. Diablo 4, if you want the special cosmetics for that particular season, you need to pay that premium for that pass. I don't think it's sustainable, this model, and I don't know what changed in the minds of a lot of players, but maybe we tone it down with the live services. Maybe we just go back to the drawing board. I think it's okay for a huge publisher like Sony, huge publisher like Ubisoft, to just release a AAA game and not have to put so much excess and mileage on a game that just doesn't really need it. Like Assassin's Creed, when that had released with a microtransaction store, a lot of us were really confused. Like, what does this single player game need this for? Who is honestly sitting there caring what my single player character looks like, aside from me? I don't need my historical figure from ancient Egypt to glow with flames. I don't need my horse mount to have horse armor. just a weird, seedy time we live in for game design in general, and I'm sure we'll find some, middle ground to it all. Not right now, not currently, but soon enough. When I took that hiatus, I didn't think things were as bad for general game development. I was just more sad that the games that I covered, Destiny 2 and Warhammer 40k, were just going through their own things. I mean, I needn't explain what was going on with Destiny 2. I mean, one of the most abysmal expansion launches in that game's history. So much so, I can't even remember the name. I cannot remember the name. Lightfall, sorry. Every time I go back to think about Destiny 2, it's like I can think of that neon pink sort of theming that they had for it, but I cannot, for the life of me, remember the name of that. That's how unmemorable that expansion was. I think the game is in a much better place now. But back then, it was weighing on me. On top of the Warhammer 40k Darktide release, and it was just like, man, both of these games that I cover, neither of which are they're not doing as good as they could be, and that saddens me. Nowadays, both games are relatively doing well for themselves. Destiny 2 released its final expansion in the form of Final Shape, and people lauded it as good. Now people, towards the end of the DLCs or the expansion's life cycle, are kind of going, I don't know how much I can really stand with this. I kind of got what I wanted out of the campaign, and then the raid, if you participated or not. The episode model is more or less still seasonal based. You're still purchasing a pass, and it just seems like a season pass, or season pass, I guess, with just a different variation of wording. There was also Halo Infinite that also kind of contributed to my little decline. It was like, man, all of these games that I need them to do well, as these are games that I'm like heavily invested in. Darktide just because I came from Vermintide. Halo because, I mean, that's just Halo. Destiny 2 because I've been covering that game since COVID. And I just felt like, man, this ain't looking too good, Chief. I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna be 100 about it. But what are you gonna do? But we're back on the ball now. Been thinking about what I want to do in terms of content creation on the channel. If you're watching on Twitch, I kind of just play whatever. Nothing's really expected of me, and I kind of appreciate that. So it's kind of helped me ease back into it. There's some short form stuff that I want to do, like just shorts in general. I feel like I should be releasing those a lot more. There's this creator by the name of Rilo. Kind of talks about everything they did to get up to the point that they were. They currently have about like 100K subscribers, and they only started last year. They kind of put things into perspective. It's like, well, my work ethic wasn't nearly as good as Rilo's. He was out there every day, unhealthily so, is what he said. Mixing, recording, editing videos for his TikTok, and editing short form content for his YouTube channel and eventually more long form stuff. Educationals, essays, I think he found his niche in terms of he's not the best player, is what he described himself as. He's not the best player in games like Tarkov, but he is informative. He offers, I guess, a welcoming, educational vibe to his content is how he termed that. So rather than kind of shell out his gameplay and personality, he rather focuses on the informative beats where it, you know, that niche isn't oversaturated at all. And I was like, man, that's really smart. And were I a smarter man, I'd probably follow suit in that. Find my niche. Right now, currently, you guys just know me as like the chill one of the Hell Jumpers, one of the more chilled people of the group. But I was thinking about what I want to do. I on the channel, both Twitch and YouTube, I want to eventually start a Resident Evil playthrough of just the entirety of the series, because on the channel currently I do have the Resident Evil 3 remake. I don't know if I got to Resident Evil 2 on the channel, I don't remember. But I would like to, as the classics release, and I think that would be a good time to play it. I also want to do Silent Hill. As a guy that loves horror, I feel like I should have done these on the channel long ago, and I kind of neglected to do so. Speaking of horror, I know a good chunk of my Hell Jumpers group doesn't really like horror, but what do you guys think? There's a movie that I watched last night called Late Night with the Devil. That movie was incredible. This is coming from somebody that does not watch media. Not plainly, anyway. When you've kind of injected yourself into this culture for a good shot, cannot speak anymore, friends. It's that brain rot. It's coming to get me. You spent a good chunk of your life kind of ingrained in this, you know, horror culture. You become very desensitized to it all, and I hate to use that phrase because it kind of hints at, no, well, do you just not enjoy that medium anymore? But I'd argue the opposite. I'm always looking for something that's kind of breaking my expectations. And Late Night with the Devil definitely did so. That movie was extremely good. It follows kind of the late night shows of old. And this guy's ratings were plummeting. So he ends up having a guest on the show, and a bunch of paranormal things happen. Meanwhile, all of this is like going on live, live recording. I think that movie was just tons of fun. I need to watch VHS next. I get a few recommendations of VHS every now and then. VHS is a anthology sort of deal where there's a bunch of stories being told in the narrative, and I'm told that's really good. But I kind of looked into wouldn't say like a review. It was more of, it's like kind of like one of those kill count videos. And it's like it looks kind of goofy. I don't know. Maybe I take it too seriously, but that's something that I'll need to watch sooner or later. I would like to get into horror stuff this year on like the channel. Like I wanted to cover horror stories. I think that would be fun. Especially as a narrator, I think that would be kind of cool to kind of talk about certain narrative philosophies. Just my thoughts on like written works. Not like any books, but just more creator-driven stuff. Something you would see on like Creepypasta or No Sleep. Fictitious stuff at a base level. I'm not going to critique anybody. I'm not going to critique anybody's, time. I saw a ghost, and it really was just somebody playing a prank, where that time I nearly got abducted on my trip to Whole Foods. No, I'm not going to critique those. See the comments for some of those sort of stories, and it's just like, man, this person could have nearly died. It's like, I'm pretty sure they feel bad enough as it is, but it's like chum in the water. People just like go after it. Drop Pod, episode 17, brought to you by... I don't have any sponsors anymore, aside from Razer. That's what this next segment is going to be about. I'm thinking about kind of hopping ship. I probably shouldn't announce this on a podcast, but this is one of my talking points for this episode. I've been kind of weaning myself away from Razer for the past year now. I feel like the quality control has gotten kind of bad, and then there's this whole scandal with their N95 series masks that they were trying to sell during COVID. They're called the Zephyr. It's this light up RGB mask that they claimed would be perfect for COVID. You'd pre-order those in 2020, but I don't think they released until like 2021, well after like the hard outbreak of COVID. So that was a weird time. Drop Pod, episode 17. When I initially started this program, I intended for it to be a way that I can kind of just shell my ideas out in a format that is chill enough where nothing is happening in the background. And I initially did my pilot episode for Drop Pod, I think, what was it, 2019? I was really just testing the waters as like, can I do this as a host? And I got some very nice comments, and then there were I don't know if that comment is even still up. I didn't delete it, but there's a comment I had received on the pilot episode. It just flat out said, "No, this is stupid." It's one of my best performing videos. But it was a way for me to just like kind of talk about things that I don't really get to talk about, especially at the time I was more focused on YouTube content rather than Twitch. And then for Twitch, I can't really share those I guess thought-provoking conversations because I'm like heavily involved in a game, and back then that would have been Destiny 2, competitive or challenge runs. So I appreciate all of the kind messages I get, especially for people that were like, "Man, when's this coming back? When are you doing this again?" There's a lot of self-doubt because sometimes I would get messages going, "Oh, this channel could be a lot more if it wasn't just used for podcasting or this, that, or the other." So I do have to manage my own expectation with that of the people that follow me. Easing myself back into content creation, like I said earlier on in the show, also, I kind of freaked it. I'm kind of doing this on the fly as we speak. I was supposed to be playing SWAT 4 with some of the crew, and my internet just kind of went out, so I was like, all right, well, I put this off long enough. I think I should just record an episode of Drop Pod, and I think by divine intervention alone, that's going to happen. But I kind of freaked it. You guys will notice for like the first 20 minutes of the episode, I've subtly, in quotes, reduced the silence, the dead air, when I take my pauses, my breaths, I remove those. But now the episode, it sounds like I was hocked up on at least like 8 cups of coffee. I just want to assure you that is not what's happening. It's already too late. It's past the point of no return to try to get that raw audio back. So for the remainder of the episode, it's just going to be me holding it down. I've been really invested in tack shooting lately. It's just kind of cool. I'm glad that people want to like learn tack shooting stuff. I try to at least be educational when it comes to that medium, because a lot of people, especially in the Hell Jumpers Discord, they just play shooters. So it's cool when somebody's like, oh, well, I think SWAT would be fun, or Ready or Not would be fun, or Squad, or Hell Let Loose. And it's like, oh, okay, that's good. I kind of get to show my knowledge of CQB and room-to-room clearing, and go over general tactics, what you can be doing, survival situations, stuff like that. Ready or Not, it's DLC in a few short days, and that's going to be pretty fun. I've been looking forward to some more Ready or Not content that wasn't mod-based. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the new achievements, the new weapons. The game is going to be shifting to Unreal Engine, which I have a lot to say about Unreal Engine. Hell, Unreal Engine would be an episode all of its own. That's how much I hate Unreal Engine. Long short of it is like every game that's on Unreal Engine, man, it all looks the same. Like it all looks the same. It's come to the point where I've deemed it Unreal Engine jank, or sorry, Unreal Engine stank even, where, you have Fortnite, right? But then you also had Dauntless, right? And Dauntless, you put that side by side to Fortnite, and both of those games look the same. And then you had the Justin Roiland FPS High on Life. You put those games all side by side, and they look the same. It's just everything that runs on Unreal Engine just seems so generic to me. And if you've been following me via the Discord, I have some issues with Halo as a franchise, as a flagship franchise that is moving to Unreal Engine. Because to me, everything on Unreal Engine, despite it being just a more centralized engine, most of your devs, especially people that are coming out of school, are going to know how to use Unreal Engine, and that's fine, that's fair. But this is your flagship game, and you're shipping it to a non-in-house engine that you spent millions of dollars building, because you fired the people that knew how to use it, that built it, in favor of Unreal Engine, which it doesn't sit right with me. And when we talk about games just needing an engine change, like this used to be Talk About Town for Destiny 2. Oh, well, Bungie is going through something we call tech debt, right? And it's when a game or software pushes out something quickly, and this little quick change or this quick release of a build actually causes more harm in the future, because now you've just piled on some stuff that you would have to fix for later, but later doesn't happen. So you accumulate this tech debt with each build and iteration of your software game. And Destiny 2 is like a prime example of armchair development. People were shouting left and right that, oh, well, what if Destiny just swapped engines? What if Destiny went to Unreal Engine, which I would not want to see. Not because it's Unreal Engine, but because that is your flagship game. You do not just suddenly jump ship and expect everything to suddenly be better. That's not how that works. We're seeing the same thing here, but as opposed to not doing that, 343 is going to remake a timeless classic of Halo Combat Evolved, and I'm very worried. I am very worried. One, because I don't think it's going to be anything of the same quality that the Resident Evil remakes were, at least Resident Evil 2 and 4. They don't talk about 3 so much. But I don't think we're going to see any of that quality with this remake. I think they're going to take very, very, very heavy liberties in adjusting the story and format of what was established in favor of a narrative that they were trying to drive during the Halo TV show that is now very much canceled. So that's going to be worrying, and it's going to be worrying for however many years, months that we are worrying about the development cycle of this game, because we don't have anything Halo related to really worry about aside from a few events for Halo Infinite. But as far as we're concerned, Halo Infinite is practically done as far as feature pushes and like huge content updates. So this franchise kind of hinges on 343 doing what they have to do as the staff holder of this particular franchise. Aside from that, though, some games I'm looking forward to in the upcoming months. Aside from Ready or Not's Home Invasion DLC, we're also looking forward to Sulphur. I've been heavily jonesing on this game, and I'm glad that we're finally getting somewhere. Its demo released not too long ago. Sulphur is a single-player extraction shooter. It has a lot of heart. It looks really cute. So I'm pretty excited for that. So much so that I would not stop talking about it the moment I saw that trailer. I thought it was really neat. We got Warhammer Space Marine 2. We're eating good this year, guys. In terms of upcoming releases, that comes out in September. I think a few days after my birthday. We got the remake to Silent Hill 2 coming out this year. We also have a update, a feature update for Helldivers 2 coming out, I believe August 6th at the time of this recording. I don't know if it's going to be enough for Helldivers 2. They obviously did a paradigm shift of their design philosophy. It used to be they wouldn't really tell you about what's coming for the game, and they wanted everybody to discover things happening organically. But as you can see with the recent player drops and just the general lack of interest for the game as a whole, I think Arrowhead kind of just said, yeah, we need to change strategies a little bit. So we're going to at least temper expectations, tell people what's coming. And I think that's a smarter move for the long term, as I don't think the former was a very sustainable way of doing it. It was cool for the initial 2 months, but now that everybody's acclimated to the systems and the rules that you have put in place for the game, it's like, all right, I kind of saw all of your tricks, really. Give us the third faction. Don't give us a little bit more to do. There's not enough variety with what we're doing. Seeing the same few environments and doing the same objective listings over and over. Like that starts getting a little boring, and I think people started realizing that a little bit. I don't know if the game is in a good spot. I know a lot of people were really upset with the idea of, the constant nerfs, and the game is already unforgiving enough as it is. One with, friendly fire being a thing, and it adds to the game, of course. But You know, you got all of these one-shot mechanics that just come out so rapidly, and all of the ragdolls that happen, and you know, the moment that you lose control of the situation, it just feels like, okay, well, I got what I wanted. This update is going to introduce a 10th difficulty, which is already a hard sell for a lot of people, as I know a lot of people, especially within my own community, don't really bother with the tier 9 difficulty. You also got the feature-rich stuff, you know, the war bond, and that's going to be, I believe, flamethrower based. So, you know, you're still getting the same old, but now we're going to tell you what's going to be happening throughout this next phase. Still a fun game, though. You know, if you've never played Helldivers yet, you know, there's a lot to like about it. So try it out. If you've not played too much of it, and you know, maybe if you took a break soon, maybe come back August 6th when the update launches, the new war bond launches. I don't know if I'm going to be invested in the war bond, but the update is going to be at least something to look at, and whatever happens, happens. That's about all I got for this episode, everybody. I'm waiting for some of the engineers from my ISP to get over here so they can fix the internet issues. I was told that my neck of the woods has a internet outage, but at the time of recording currently, it's been around 2 hours. I had called about an hour ago before I started, just to kind of say, hey man, is there any ETA? And it's like, oh, well, it should have been fixed by now, actually. So that's not a good sign. As always, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you guys